Hi folks, Diner Bob here, finally back, this time with a beta launch test park that I built. We're going to look at some of the new animals and some of the new builds. We're looking now at the mammoths, a clip of just the animals because they're not in the park per se. I appear to have disappointed them in that, so they're leaving, even though there are all three skins there. We're going to start here in the entrance pavilion. This is the prefab that comes with the game. It includes a guest generator. We're panning back, looking over the guest generator. You can see there's an upper level. You can see there are spaces left for you to slip in some of the modular guest facilities. Useful basic structure. It has a couple of glitches when the way the guests work, but you can see one of the new guests there with her long hair. We're going to walk down the pathway now. The guests will walk on the modular objects, so that's a little problem at the far end because those stairs have no railings and they have path underneath them, actually modular pieces, and the guests will walk under that. So we have a lovely statue, one of the new pieces here. This is Tyrannosaurus, of course, and the name plaque is a clever little bit where the statue, a statue, one of the three models, has been compressed in a vertical plane to create a bas relief to put on that little sign. Very cool. So I added that glass you see above the stairway there to keep the guests from walking out of this build. In the far distance you can see the lab where you will hatch your dinosaurs, and right here in front of us is the guest entry points. These are not functional yet because we don't have a full-fledged economy at this point. So looking down the path here, you can see the path drops down into the park. There's one of the new aviaries. They have a new basic form. There's another one. Unfortunately, at this stage, the saves don't keep the changes to the aviary, so selecting one of the habitats and putting the animals in there, they disappear in the save. The null option is still there, but I haven't exercised it yet because this one's not so much about my building buildings, but trying out all the various ones that come with it. This is the TRex Kiosk, and you can see it uses some of the basic module and has been built up into a little a kiosk, I guess. And across the way, there is a double restroom. We're going to skim over there. I stole the little sign with the banners from the T-Rex one because these are modular builds, which means you can take them apart and extend them. So that little extra fence that's sticking out from the main building, I took that wall that the cursor ran over, sank it down on the ground, moved it over, and made a waist-height kind of fence. You can do this kind of thing with all the builds. We're going down the walkway now, and that sunshade kind of thing is also another prefab. I modified it, shrunk it down to fit over this little viewing area. And this is the first animal. This is one of the new animals in the game. Beyond this enclosure, you can see the Bronto Burger restaurant. Sorry about the glitch there. I had intended to do something else. You can see Protoceratops starting to move there. Get rid of that. You can hear them too. These guys have more sounds than some of the other animals right now. For whatever reason. The sounds will be added as the devs go along and the iterations through beta. You can see two different colored rocks. We're picking our rock colors right now. Things seem to be in progress. There aren't quite as many rock pieces as there were in alpha, but can still do quite a bit with them, particularly because they remain modularly scalable. So modular stairs to go down, there we go, and on to the next prefab build. This is the Giganto gift shop. You can see some of the statues have been shrunk down to become statuettes for sale, and the fossil Tyrannosaurus skull shrunk down to a very tiny size for a desktop ornament. You see more of them in here. In the center, of course, I had Montosaurus statue, some of the racks of goods and some of the counters of goods, all there laying out this shop. And in the background, the new murals. This is a Hell Creek environment mural. So I think we can expect to get more murals in the future, possibly in beta, possibly in early access, possibly even ongoing. Anyway, nice work by the devs on some of these new elements. Oh, yeah. The new curved wooden pieces are visible in that little out of the shop display. So we're going to pull out of the shop, get back. This is a new gravel path, by the way. Look around and head down toward another animal by way of a prefab build of a single slot restroom. You can see one of the heat pump units in the back of the building there. Also another new element. And on the right is an environment that includes an old friend, Protoceratops, but Nasudo has got a new friend to share the environment with. We're going to pop into the environment, I think, because everybody seems to be on the other side of the exhibit. This is going to become a common feature. Oh, wait, somebody's hiding in the reeds. And it's our new friend. This is Pachyranosaurus. This is the species that is contemporaneous with Protoceratops and comes from the same environment. It's the smallest of the three species that we get with this animal. So zoom in a little further, and there's Nasudo, several of them, and two of the modular shelters. There are several sizes of modular shelters. Yes, they have loud footsteps, at least relative to the sound. Spin back around. We've got more plants than we had in most of the environments, fewer in a couple. For example, this one, currently the aquatic environment trees are not quite with us right now. They'll be coming back though. March. Much better view with sunlight on her. This is the female, I believe. Anyway, let's go back to the path and head over somewhere else. You can see I've got an enclosure directly opposite here. You may recall, if you were visiting before, that I paired that was Styraco I paired with. Anyway, I paired it with Lambeosaurus. And that is, I think, who we've got through here. You see the lovely new redwoods and the coastal environment plants. The plants are all mostly been put in using the brush. There's Styrac. The plant brush, because that's a huge change from Alpha. The plant brush now lays down modular plants that you can subsequently move around and resize, which is awesome. It makes putting in vegetation really quick. It's got a couple of glitches. I think it needs to be tuned a little bit. And there's the other new guy. This is Parasaurolophus walkway, and contemporaneous with Styracosaurus and a companion. So I put Lambeosaurus in a separate exhibit. You can see the food trays now. They're now selectable for whether they're vegetation or meat. And we will be getting more dietary types in there. Again, the prefab shelter in this lovely atmospheric environment. And the music is in game now. It's not just at launch. And also, again, a work in progress. We'll be getting more pieces of it in the future. So we're going to be lingering in a lot of the environments. You get to see the animals walk around. Most of them just walk around and eat and drink and occasionally they will lie down. Um, Again, the behaviors are continuing to be implemented. It's a little preview of what's coming there. A couple of the prefabs, and in the distance, something else. Um, I'm trying to orient myself here, trying to figure out a way to get to the next exhibit, and I think we're just going to end up plowing back through. I've been looking for a road to follow along and having trouble finding it. So we'll go up a little bit. There it is. And again, in the distance, you can see the rebuilt modular nursery in the far distance. We won't be visiting that closely today. We're going to go back to the Protoceratops circle and go over to the other side, I think. You can see a wind turbine spinning there in the center. These are movable. You can place them around to make sure you get enough power generated, because the buildings and such want their power now. It's still, again, a work in progress. But one of the cool things about those elements is they are not any longer stuck on the ground. You can move them modularly. So you can put solar panels up on the roofs of your buildings, for example. This is the Bronto Burger restaurant. We'll have to take a look inside this. This is one of the bigger prefabs, and that's not a door after all. Okay, must be down here. And around we go, spin around, yeah, yes, there it is. So we'll cruise in, and there's an outside area and an inside seating area. Great place to put a restroom in the back there. And two of the modules for the functional part of this nutrition stand. And out here we have a little bit of patio. Oh, this must be good for cold weather. They've got coals grilling there. I wonder if they bring a chef out to do takoyaki. Who knows? Anyway, a couple of booths in that corner. Logos are available separately, so you can move them around, size them up and down. Great thing about the guy guests, they no longer have exposed brains. They have very intense beards, but no longer any exposed brains. So for the Protoceratops, I put a couple of these little viewing areas, but we're going to go across the way because we're going into new animal land. And I see one moving in the distance. So this, for this park, is the first animal on the Jurassic section of the tour. So we're pushing in now. There you can see him in the distance. It's Turbosaurus, our first non-tyrannosaur predator in the game. And there's his companion in the far distance over there. Turn around. And I'm going off that way. Oh, now as we come in, she's coming a little closer to us. She is less brightly colored than her companion. Let's back up before she decides to eat us. Now, navigation for these animals is still, again, a work in progress. All of beta will be a work in progress, but it will be iterative. And Bill should save from now through into full release, which will be great for those of us who put a lot of work into it. We won't lose this stuff. Here's the lad himself crouching down there watching Dino TV, watching the snacks walk by. Much more brightly colored than the female, more intense. This one is a particularly intense version of the skin because, of course, just like in alpha, the animals have intensity variations, which is cool. So we'll push back out of here before they do decide to eat us and head down the road because we have a companion dinosaur. And if you don't already know what's coming, there may have been a bit of a clue with those really tall open umbrella looking structures. Go by a prefab single bathroom and come down the road to a really tall fence because maybe you can see them through there. I can't. This is a sauropod enclosure. And inside, we have the first sauropod to make it into the game, Camarosaurus. And this is the smallest of the 3 species that we have for this animal, with a sauropod sunshade, like an umbrella there. And off in the distance, just to the left, you can see a sauropod shelter. This one has been sunk into the ground to make it more suitable for Camarosaurus's height. I have not gotten in to modify the elements of it, such as the side doors, to make it look more suitable, that this is a building that's intended to be this size. That gives you a base structure to work with the taller dinosaurs that are coming. So I have one male and several females in here. They've got their sauropod feeders, which are actually a little bit taller than these guys need. But there are 2 other species of Camarosaurus that are coming to the game, each larger than this guy. The species represent this genera as genus, just one genus. It moves through time. In the Jurassic, the animals get bigger, which seems to be a standard trend for a lot of the megafauna in the Jurassic. Yeah, pretty animals, pretty animals. Are you going to sit down? Yeah. It's tired boy, or girl, I think. And we'll spin around and head out so I can take you to that structure you may have glimpsed that is a viewing area for this exhibit. So we'll go up the stairs. This is a modular build that I did, throwing pieces together quickly to incorporate 2 of the modular kiosks. One for Tiny's fast food, and I think the other one is Sweet Tooth? Yeah, it's Sweet Tooth. This is the dessert one. And I also, on Tiny's, changed a couple of the elements around. So this is the view from the viewing area, looking out over the sauropods. The fence is set up that way to keep the animals from reaching over to snack on the guests' snacks. Also to prevent the guests from feeding them the snacks deliberately. So you get a view of the feeder looking like it's the central post for one of those sunshades. And stairs down the other side, you can see another enclosure in the distance which also has a shelter. This has not got a path to it, so we're going to bushwhack through some of the new vegetation into this. And this has the other 2 species of Camarosaurus. I'm forgetting them. I know the last one is Supremus, the big one. And that, I believe, is what is he doing? The one that has managed to sit down into the ground. This is going to be a glitch. He's going to do a push-up, and are you going to act normal? Oh, there you go. Okay, I guess you just wanted an audience for that. Anyway, male and female don't look terribly different. Graceful moves of big dinosaurs. And somewhere in here, there's one. This would be the medium-sized species of Camarosaurus. Grandis? Could be Grandis, yeah. Anyway, a lovely sort of giraffe kind of pattern in reverse. Looks great in the game, even when it does have pine trees sticking through it. Now there's a female out there somewhere, and she's a little less brightly patterned. She's over there by yet another animal shelter for some of the bigger animals. This one a little more thatchy than so a little more tropical than the modern themed shelters we've been looking at so far. thundering footsteps. We need Brontosaurus. Gonna have a thunder lizard, you gotta have the thunder lizard. And we're gonna sit down too. Apparently it's very tiring to be looked at by the guests. So let's take a look at the panel there. You can see the stats, they're all pretty much frozen at this stage of beta. That should be changing well before the end. So we've jumped over now to the backside of that viewing area, and you can see on the left, there's a couple of the backstage pieces that I cribbed from Tiny's upstairs and brought them down here. And there's the Tiny's restaurant as opposed to the kiosk. So it's a little bit bigger, it has some interior seating, and let's walk in. And very ice cream shop kind of flooring, and 2 modules to set it up. Looks like one has had the menu boards brought forward to make it a little different. And back out we go, past the plantings. Yeah, okay, yeah, another 2-stall bathroom. And it was starting to get a little misty there. You notice the sky's very gray. We have 4 weather states currently in the game, and since we're doing this tour I wanted it to say bright sunlight. So pop that up and change it back to sunlight, and you watch the sky clear up. So let's head down this path. We're heading into the China section of this park. No, we're not. There's Lambeosaurus. So I took a different turn there. So he's an old friend. He's looking much more at home in this environment with the redwoods. And you can see him just walk right through some of them. So one of the things that happens with the painting brush, right, you can see it right here in the middle, those 3 trees very close together. You have to keep that brush moving or you'll over-densify with the painting, which will mean a lot more elements for your computer to compute. So I'm hoping that the devs will be spreading out the density choices there to make it a little more friendly to people who are perhaps not fast enough off the button. This isn't a first-person shooter, it's a builder. We don't need instant reactions to extreme intensity. Anyway, animal remains a beautiful looking animal, great skin. Really looks good in the Redwood Forest. And we're going to lie down in the water. I was hoping she'd take a drink, but oh well. So I mentioned China. We're still going to try to get to China. We have something else that can join our Turbosaurus from Alpha. And there's Walkway and the Styracosaurs on the right. And this is a little recirculation area for the park planted. And that looks like the path to China. Let's go down and find out. A little viewing area into the exhibit on our right. That should be our old friend Turbosaurus in there. Having trouble seeing one. Oh yeah, that's there. I see one. Is it Turbosaurus? No, it's not Turbosaurus. It's somebody else who lives in Canada rather than somebody who lives in China. So China must be further down the road. Keep pushing. We'll get to China yet. That should be the branch off to China. We cruise down the road here, and you see a little shelter thing that is a prefab on the left there, and we're going to pull over to it and take a look at the animal that's inside that exhibit. I use this as the basis for a couple of viewing platforms, basically building over it, and we'll get to those shortly. So this is viewing, still not China, but we're on our way, and that was the Lambeosaurus exhibit. So, I'm not doing a lot of the detail in this park. The purpose here was to take a look at how the new foliage plays, how the new pathing plays. This is obviously not the path to China. And see all the new animals. So, yeah, we're backlit here. Ah, yes, yes. Time to head way north. This is Pachyranosaurus. And this is the very speculative woolly Pachyranosaurus. Not actually woolly, but the feathers kind of give that effect. It's a neat looking animal, but not terribly supportable given the paleontology. So Pachyranosaurus is one of the new animals that comes with 3 alternate species as well. This is one. I wish they really did a scaly version of this as an alternate also, and maybe that will come someday. He's kind of neat to look at, but it leaves us without the scaly version of this guy, because all 3 Pachyrhanosauruses have their own heads to represent the different horn characteristics of the animals and the sizes of the nasal bosses. And just feels a little off to have to take this speculative woolly one when you might want to use this particular species with the more supportable scaly skin. Yeah, they make lots of all kinds of growly noises. And he's sharing an environment with Edmontosaurus regalis. That's one of the ladies in the little herd of Edmont. I don't know where the guy is. Let's cruise down here. And you can see a rock shelter there that we just went zooming by. We'll look at one of those a little bit later, a little more closely. But it's another one of the prefab animal shelters. There are quite a few animal shelters in the prefabs. They're all built with modular pieces, and you can modify them, as you'll see when we finally get to China. Maybe we made it to China? Or maybe we're still on our way. Ah, okay. Well, on our right, you can see a couple of the larger amenity prefabs. This is the Sweet Tooth restaurant. Yep, there it is. Menu board out in front. And its own lighting. And it's an apparel. Now, these did not come with the windmills up on their roofs. I added those to spread power out to this part of the park. And again, 2 modules at its core, and the racks. One of the wall racks has been modified to give it a frame to stand up in the middle of the room, which is cool. So anyway, nice little shop. Guests will come into this right now. They will even very occasionally walk up to the counter. But other than that, not much is happening with them. And there you see one of the, whoops, we're going to skip this part where I played around with adjusting the height of this build. And transition back to the apparel and take a little bit closer look at those wind turbines. I sunk their concrete pad into the roof. And you can see I did it on the other shop that's far away there. And I've still got the user interface up as we go over to this build where I built over that platform we saw earlier. And this is Dinoceras, our mad, gigantic goose dinosaur. Across its pond. It likes wetlands. This is one really weird looking dinosaur. But he looks great in the game. I've got a male and a female in here. The male is a little more brightly colored. I really need to make that interface go away, don't I? The question is when will I remember to do that? Now. And he's wading through the reeds. The male's got to be out there somewhere. She was wading through the reeds. Don't see it. And anyway, that's the rock shelter. Because of the hitboxes of these large dinosaurs, I needed to rearrange some of the rocks so that they could move through there. but they do, which is great. So I'd like you to see the male. Got to be out there somewhere. Got a lot more aquatic low plants right now. There he is. Just sat down for a rest. A lot more aquatic low plants in beta. I've got stand-ins for the wetlands trees. Look at that fella. You can see his feathers riffle in the breeze because of the feather shaders that are in play. They're actually fur shaders, but it works equally well on these downy kind of feathers. Makes the animal seem a little bit more alive. Silly goose. Up, up. Yeah, there you go. And yes, literally, there you go. Oh, you're not giving us good departure, are you? When I was building this thing, I had one do almost that, but he kept walking, and just, you got closer and closer to the skin, and then he finally disappeared, except for one final tail flip across the camera. It was lovely. Couldn't repeat it. Oh well. So let's phase out of this exhibit, past Pato Apparel, down this lane, because we've got another Chinese animal down here at the far end. I repeated the viewing platform and made sure I included an under platform viewing area for people who want to get down on the dinos level, like this, looking out. And it's another Parasaurolophus species. This is Gianensis, I think. It's a Chinese animal. Recent science has shown that it probably doesn't have a crest that looks like this. This is the Walkway crest. And it probably had a slightly different crest because it's closely related to a relatively new find that has a different shaped crest. But someday that may happen, but the devs have other fish to fry right now than keeping up with the latest scientific changes to the animals. I mean, it's not actually sure that it would have a different crest because that part is not preserved in the specimens of this animal. But with it being more closely related to that other animal, it seems likely. Anyway, through the fence, and this should be Tarbos turf. There's meat in here, and it's got a similar kind of viewing platform. I was cutting corners here. I'm not doing individual ones for every animal because I wanted to get all the stuff in. There's one. So Turbosaurus, being a Tyrannosaurus variant, is one of the animals that right now has more behaviors because it was serving as a test bed to include the behaviors. And it takes a while to implement them across the different animals and rigs. And as I said, the devs have a lot of things to deal with right now, trying to get everything going and looking good. And they're doing a marvelous job. So, where you going, Tarbo? You're going to stand there. Okay, fine. We'll leave and get back on the path. That's the TRex restaurant right there with my added wind turbine, again, to spread out the power. And I used the modular pieces that make the patio to be a step up to this, and the guests will go up it. Once again, for the restaurant, 2 modules in play to create the functionalities. That where the restroom is? It looks like a good place. Let's get ourselves in there. There's a door, and nothing immediately there. I bet that's the back door. Okay, well, that's fine too. Maybe this is supposed to be a storeroom. But if pop out the back, yep, nothing special happening over here. We do get a look at the patio for this TRex Cafe. The design's a bit different from the Alpha TRex Cafe, which was not modular piece build. Okay, well, we're coming closer to the end here, so we're going to head to Hell Creek. And you can see a viewing area that I built with the modular pieces looming toward us. The new stacked stone wall, which is nice. And to its left, you can see a statue prefab. We're going to come up to that. You can see the paths also now will lay on slightly slanted terrain without totally freaking out. And it has this little platform, and since it resulted in a drop-off, I added the retaining fences there so people don't fall off accidentally. And this is, I think, the bronze finish, bright bronze finish for the Tyrannosaur. A couple of benches in there for them. And concrete pieces to do these sort of long steps before getting into the modular steps we're going up. And turn into the viewing area. Again, I haven't tricked these out. It's quick throw together. And there's Turbosaurus Rex. I think that's the gal. I put a pair in because, you know, looking at the two skins. This is the leather hide skin. Again, these animals are looking even better in this kind of Redwood Forest environment with the coastal things. It's marvelous. The grasses are currently not fully implemented except for the base grass for this this map. This is a Mediterranean map, so you know, it's not really a good environment for some of the animals like the mammoths, but it's probably going to turn out to be a good medium environment for a lot of the dinosaurs, where you don't have to push your temperature maintenance very far to keep a lot of them happy. And I dropped one of the Edmontosaurus statues here on the way down this path to the Edmontosaurus viewing area. I would hope it's a little too close. There we go. Anyway, he's a nice critter. And this appears to be a verdigris bronze kind of effect. Or maybe just a greenish marble. I'm not sure which. Anyway, down this long path, because ultimately I would hope we can do a safari ride for Hell Creek. And this would be a viewing area that would support that. And several Edmontosaurus in here, pretty open exhibit. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. Almost all the vegetation is painted with a few adjustments after the painting. And it's got the thatch roof shelter for these animals. And inside, I use the glass to keep people from falling through. And that goes down to a lower viewing area. We'll phase through because it's faster. And look out through the fence where you can see those animals and get a better appreciation of their size. This is Edmontosaurus regalis, and it's a huge animal, or it can get to be a huge animal. So, we're pretty much getting close to the end of the tour since we've gone through all of the animals. I don't think I got quite all the module builds into this, but yeah, I made that a aqueduct kind of build to make the path. So we're gonna transition here to one of the exhibits we seem to have mostly skipped, which is Pachyranosaurus, and get a little light on him there so you can see the nice patterning on her skin and her different headgear arrangement, which is an exhibit she shares with Edmontosaurus regalis. Yep. So the animals continue to have their variation in skins. often shows up in the Edmontosaurus pretty strongly. They're still walking through trees. They probably will continue to walk through smaller trees. But the devs, I think, are looking at trying to make them go around the bigger ones so it's a little more convincing. And this is yet another animal shelter prefab, sort of timber and canvas one. And I think that's where our boy Edmontosaurus is hanging out through the trees. Get a better angle at that. Yeah. So this is kind of neat, and those tarps that are making up it should be recolorable. Tarps were in alpha. I haven't checked in beta, but it should be. So you could play some games with that and have some fun. Clearly adjustable because the poles are so long. You could easily bring that down closer to the ground and let the animals, let smaller animals work with it. Edmontosaurs, as I noted, are pretty tall animals, so they need a good bit of space. So that's our boy. And I wanted to point out the frill. So of course he's going to be contrary and spin around. Let's come around on him. And the patterning on the frill is much starker on the male. So a little bit of dimorphism in this species. Apologies, I'm not remembering the particular Pachyranosaurus species. So up and a look at the park as a whole. You can see it's quite large. A park this big will probably start straining laptops and weaker computers. Mine is fairly beefy, and it is running at a fairly low FPS with all this stuff in it. But some of that is probably because I have too much in the way of plants due to that brush issue. So there it is. Thanks for stopping by. This is Dino Bob. I'll be building something, a new park for beta soon, probably in pieces. See you soon.